Hey, we just got a patch a couple of days ago and pro players are already playing in the competitive tournament. So let's see what was brought to top 16 qualifiers for the Open number 2, and let's see who is succeeding. Gonna start with the bracket for the tournament. The link will be in the description. You can navigate to the deck list of players by clicking on the players bracket part. At the moment we'll look at the bracket. So we got the final ahead of us, or you probably know who won it by the time the video is uploaded. But Mystical and Rabbit George are the two finalists. We see that Rabbit George qualified from the top side of the bracket, beating Thunderman, Danny Rai, and well, the name of a player I cannot sadly read. And then we have Mystical beating John Sully, Magpie, and Cams to reach the final. One of the players qualifies directly, and then the loser of the winner's bracket gets to play another match versus the loser bracket winner, be that our friend that I cannot read, Sif, Cams, or Gandalf. That's gonna be another participant. So let's see what the finalists are actually playing. As you can see, the Nilfgaard is back with Double Cross. You might have slept on it for the past 2 seasons because Golden Necker decks were prevalent, and well, Double Cross didn't really get anything by playing cards from Golden Necker decks because you don't get Sitting Over, you cannot play. You don't get her resilience, you don't get to play Golden Necker, and well, the cards felt subpar. Then we see that Siege is back after Priestess nerf. The Siege stockpile version is prevalent. Some play it with Mutagenator, others without. Devotion Syndicate, some Brave Swords brought Golden Necker version, but majority of players brought Devotion Syndicate. And then Scoia'tael has leaders to pick from. Precision Strike, Guerrilla Tactics, or Pure Elves and Deadeye Ambush are all usable, so make your choice. And now that we looked at the majority of successful decks, let's go faction by faction through the decks that players brought. So let's start with the simple one, with monsters. Only one player brought monsters to the tournament, top 16 qualifiers. It's not a Golden Necker deck, but I think it was Kazuya who wanted to play monsters still, and he opted into the Irondite version with, well, a couple of expensive cards. So you cut your Sitting Over, you cut your Golden Necker because you want to play Irondite, and you get to play the new Triss card that is buffing all your relics by half of the power, or occasionally you can damage opponent's side of the board. Quite a powerful play. Can be replayed by the Nilfgaard. So since Assimilate is back, we only see relics presented by one of the players. 15 players found a better faction to bring. This is the list. You probably know the bottom part of it. Relics, you have your Self-Eaters, Witch Apprentices for Engines, Incubus to bring them back, or potentially bring Griffin back, trading a lot of power in your favor here. You have a bit of control with Toad Prince and Dorigaray. Irondite is another one. And then the Crown package. So more relics for proccing your Self-Eaters. But since you are not a Golden Necker deck, you can play expensive stuff, and besides trees that I talked about, there is Mamuna. Mamuna that can eat Griffin and, well, pull another one out of your deck. There is no tempo, the deck has enough tempo on its own, and, well, you don't really need those extra roach and doggo points, so that's what we got. So this is monsters, only one player, only one deck. It seems like the pro players do not really believe in monsters for this season. Gonna see how the pro ladder evolves, but at the moment this is the sad reality of monsters. You can play vampires with Book of Necromancer, you can play Death Wish, some of the form, but yeah, for the controlled competitive environment, players just opted into something else. So now we are going to the Isles, and well, Skellige has two types of decks presented. First of all, it's Ursine Ritual, the self-damage. Of course, Sigvald was completely nerfed by one provision, so everyone was like, this deck is unplayable anymore, wink wink. But turns out, if you just replace one of your 5p cards to a 4p card, you can still play it. And the deck still packs a lot of points into its maybe not the most expensive cards, like Sigvald Knut combo, Melusine, that is a 10 provision card, and where it comes from, you can replay your win cons multiple rounds, you can bring entire packages back one by one. So if your opponent lacks control, toll punishes, locks, you are free to Knut Sigvald Melusine for incredible amount of points. One card that is always going with the deck is Restore, that heals your allied unit and boosts by the amount healed. So if you have your Melusine behind Defender, you can ping her down to 1 and say it was a 20-point body by round 3. You get 30 plus point play from that. So be aware of this list. This is here to stay before another round of nerfs is incoming or meta changes completely. And well, everyone is running Heatwave, Purify, Invocation, and a couple of locks. Then maybe. Although I did qualify, bring myself back to Pro Ladder using this deck, and I ran into exactly the deck I described, Imprisonment with Heatwave, Invo, and somehow still won. And another Skellige version that you might have forgotten about is this, Portal, Madak, with some extra carryover from Summoning Circle. Now Summoning Circle is showing your deck in order, don't forget that. Additional help for discard package, you might know what you draw into every time you play your discards. Coral, Birna. You have Portal thinning out your Witcher Adepts, or maybe one Hermit. They do not damage themselves while jumping out from the portal. So this is a blast from the past, a lot of points, slam, great swords with Megascope, bombs with Madak, extra control from the leader. Incredible, and I'm happy to see that Sif opted into this to mix it up. Other versions of Reckless Flurry were present. Somebody was reminiscing of Golden Necker days, although they are not that far away from us. But yeah, Golden Necker, Reckless Flurry was also present, but I don't think it succeeded much. So this is Skellige 2 decks. Moving on, we have NR, and well, we have Mayamon bringing the Mutagenator Priestess deck, the only player who decided to run the nerfed Priestess, now gaining only 2 charges, although she has 1 charge by default and she gained 1 power. But yeah, the deck tends to 0 thanks to the last play of Vernon Roche, pulling ideally a Tridem and a Traveling Priestess so that you can combo them together for some insane value. Deck is still potentially playable on the ladder as well, but well, you are losing 1 charge per mulligan of Priestess, and that amounts to 2 points if we count that you were using them on infantry. Only runs 1 infantry. run Syndicate Envoy to improve your top decks and maybe get an extra mulligan on Traveling Priestess. So Mutagenator generates some value thanks to 5 provision package. You have Siege Masters, Ballistas, Griffin Mentors. Also, you can drop Mutagenator and Syndicate Envoy back row and hand buff your Priestesses and Trident Infantry, since they have the Zeal condition now. And if inspired they gain Zeal, you can just solve that instead of relying on location and random like pulls from the mentor. But as I mentioned, only one player. I also don't think Maimon really succeeded with this deck. Alternative is the stockpile. The stockpile with Hanselt, Radovid. Some people play it with Mutagenator, others opt into more controlly version with Margarita. Heat waves, muzzles, I can show you different build. But Mutagenator version just wants to play Mutagenator, well, duh. And then look at the amount of 5p cards. You don't have any 4 provision cards here. You have Siege Masters, Ballistas, Landsknechts, Drummers, Battering Rams, Caraballistas. Every time you play, after playing Mutagenator them to the back row, they buff 5 units in your deck by 1 point, so 5 points of carryover per card. If you have your Siege Masters in the deck in round 1, you can get a free tin in with like 5-point oomph added to them, so quite cool. And then you have Hanselt combining with Walter Sprite to ping any threats opponent has. And yeah, you have 5 stockpile charges thanks to Radovid, giving you 2 more. So something else than the siege engines for opponent to answer Hanselt, Radovid, and yeah, the siege itself. So this is the Mutagenator version. You can, as I mentioned, find the decks in the description, or you can look at the previous uploads on this channel. I've been putting out quite a few videos recently showcasing the gameplay by the majority of meta decks. So alternative to Mutagenator is this. Hanselt is there, Radovid is there, but as you can see, there is a Heat Wave and Muzzle and Margarita, so much more control, double boiling oil as well, but yeah, you're not running crazy amount of 5Ps, so you can allow yourself some siege towers to combine with Hanselt and Purify, Squirrel. Well, you do run Heat Wave, so you probably need a Purify. Not really a new deck. After the stockpile buff and Hanselt buff, we've seen this in action multiple times. Moving on, so we checked Skellige, NR, and monsters. Moving to Nilfgaard, Double Cross, as I mentioned, is making the comeback, and this is the Double Cross you expect it to be. Terranova, Bratens, Invo, Bribery are here, some units to give Spine with. The Duchess's Informants and Emissaries coming from Bratens. You can try to swarm opponent's side of the board, but since there is no Joachim, maybe that's not the plan nowadays. In Mirrors it still might work though. From the unusual cards that you might have not seen before, well, Rune Mage came with the Forgotten Treasures expansion, and where to fit it if not Nilfgaard, allowing you to expand your leader pool to 5 cards, so you can leader earlier in round 3 or in round 2 while getting pushed, etc, etc. It expands your briberies, it expands your Diplos, so giving you maybe better choices there. Since Golden Necker is not as prevalent now, your bribery is also not showing you. You might have seen those screenshots. You roll bribery with 5 options, and this is Doggo, Roach, Hubert, and some two more irrelevant cards like Siege Master, Siege Support. So yeah, Assimilate feels much better nowadays. And well, if you were long into playing for playing that, this is your time. Another version of it, not really all that much different. You have your Van Moorleham's Hunter, you have your Masha Truffle that you can use for carryover in round 2. And then get the click in round 3 is broken all your assimilates. So this version exists. Some people opted into imprisonment. And well, before we move to assimilate version of it, we can talk about the Golden Necker. Golden Necker. Somebody still needs a kick from Golden Necker. And you can run enablers in Alisa and Asaya for that extra kick. You have your carryover play in Summoning Circle on Imperial Golem and Sirenova, so quite important carryover. You can play your Golden Necker up to 3 times. You still have Kanta Gortut combos, so if you want to steal opponents' best cards and if you can utilize them, there you go. I guess this list was trying to also counter Squirtle, so Surrender is there, and Hand-Guided Sword is quite a weapon. Well, it's a sword, it's a weapon, deal with it. But it steals the souls and respawns units in the next rounds. Megascope, Nilfgaardian Knights, deck is thinning pretty well, so Adept is there as an alternative potentially to the Megascope target. But you probably just want the Knights duplicated. And yeah, and as I mentioned, Imprisonment Assimilate is also a thing. Although this version that was played is something else, not pure Assimilate. Well, the Pratans are taught are there, but Usurper is there, and this is the Devotion list that runs Fergus. It runs Empyrean Enforcers. I don't think this list progressed all that far, but if you are longing for the spy list, this might be the one for you. I'm not running Emir, but still you get quite a few. You get quite a few things going for yourself with Empyrean Enforcers gaining charges on each spine unit appearing. Plus, well, Fergus puts 3 spine statuses, so that's quite a few charges. You also have Ramon to spawn more enforcers. So this is Nilfgaard. Nilfgaard was brought by quite a few players. Let me check the stats 1 second. Nilfgaard was brought up by 11 players, so much more popular than Monsters, a little bit more popular than Northern Realms. But Syndicate was in every player's lineup, and well, let me fix the thing that maybe CDPR should have fixed ages ago. The pictures were not fitting the cards. Now it's better. You can see Professor, you can see Junior, King of Beggars, Cyrus, Jacques Topant with like Philippa for the control Salamander mages. Candle is amazing, keeping Sala mages alive, keeping other stuff like Junior more relevant, especially if we are talking about killing elves. You buff your Junior instead of paying fee. You can spend all your money with Candle, buffing it up, and then you use Insanity, but your spending is more efficient because Candle's spending is better than Junior's direct spending. So pay attention to that next time you are using it. So yeah, Devotion, as why we talked about it in last month's review. Here we are back. Speaking of the same list, there are different of the books. Some people opted into playing Junior. Horson's Freak Show, not Junior's Freak Show. A card that might help you killing some extra stuff like siege engines. So you can combine that with your Salamander mages and Junior. But on the paper, Freak Show is just a 6 for 8, which is not really helpful for your deck building, so a lot of players haven't been running it, but this has been found on a couple of lists. And well, some people do want more control via poison, so Failed Experiment, if you missed it, was changed. Now it's a 6-point unit, poisons itself on deploy, and for the fee 3 it poisons something else, moving the poison from itself on a cooldown 1, so you cannot really combine this with other stuff. You cannot poison multiple things. And well, this poison is not free. Fee 3 is quite substantial, but allows you to pose the threat by opening with Failed Experiment. Opponent cannot really expect anything to survive if it doesn't have Wheel on it. That's why the double fish there, and you can roll poisons from Shady Vendor as well if you wish. So this is Syndicate Devotion, but some people tried to bring Golden Necker version. We can see that this Golden Necker version is running Vinci. I have enjoyed this list in the previous season. It was something different from your usual Syndicate that misses golds and complains. This was Golden Necker version that was more consistent in some of them, but the problem is you are running like only a couple of locations, and Conjurer Candle combined with something like Fish Tech usually was over profiting for ya. But yeah, quite a poison heavy list. Double Fish Tech Trafficker, double Failed Experiment, Fish Techs themselves, plus Poison Brothers. But since the drill is here, the Defender is added as well to protect your carryover. Morale, Beansy, Poison Brothers, and Drill, quite a few of them. Targets for protection in round 3. And the last version that was of Syndicate that was brought to the tournament was this Jackpot with Salamandra. It's a single Salamandra list, no decoys, but yeah. People gave the newly changed and buffed Self-Poison another shot. If you are interested in some different SY list, this might be for you. It's not a Golden Necker, it still runs a lot of poisons. The Fallen Ryla card with changed ability now removes poisons on the tribute, buffing self by 5 each time, but well, it's not free and it goes pretty tall, so if you expect opponent to have tall punish, you probably are better spending coins. But yeah, as I mentioned, spending, it becomes spending only in on third turn, because you get the first two. Yeah, we can work through this card. So you have your profit 3, so it lands as a 9. If you pay your tribute, you remove poison from a light unit, buffing by 5, then your counter is related to poisoning enemy units. Well, while Ryla is on the board, the poison lands immediately, so it's another threat to combine with something like Failed Experiments. With, well, if you get the units poisoned, you get the Salamander to poison everything on the board. But as I mentioned, yeah, the card transforms and the tribute becomes a fee, so you can continue pay 3 coins for boost 5 of the poison in 2 enemy units. So that's the card. Sorry for being confusing for a second there. An interesting choice, an interesting change, but Toll Punish is something that just deals with Fallen Ryla, especially while we are moving to the last faction that we didn't talk about, and it's Squirtle. And Well, this card exists. Ornate Sensor. Nerf to 9 provisions. Still unlimited point swing. Can be a 0-point play, can be a 50-point play. Do you like this card or not? Do you want this existing? Do you want it capped? Let me know in the comments if any of you survived this far into the deck review. I see that we are moving to a 30-minute mark, so repeating the success of the previous video, also hit 30-point mark with it. So 3 types of the decks, 3 leaders. Precision Strike, running both elves and dwarves, is there. Hand-guided sword, if it's fitting somewhere, Precision Strike is definitely the leader. Same goes for the Ornate Sensor. You can control opponents' low units. You can set up yourself with a low unit. You also have skirmishers dropping as once. Vanadine, Seamless Leader combo. Zoltan and Munro combo are all quite point heavy packages that Square has been relying on. Sadly, no player brought hand buff, although yeah, the Competence version has been doing pretty well for him on the ladder. So another elf dwarf package mix is a guerrilla, can be found in Guerrilla Tactics deck. Same idea, but you are also running Movement Leader with Milva and a couple of movement bronzes. So control heavy, maybe even control heavier than the previous deck we looked into. It runs Seamless, not only for Waylays, but you can opt into the Armorer's Workshop as well, resetting your Dwarf Berserkers that you get from Munro. An interesting choice. I've seen it quite a few times on the ladder, even last month. And the last Squirtle version that was brought, it's pure elves. Elves with more elves added on top of the previous package of elves that it had. So Seamless, Vanadine, Scenario. You run Unseat Saber, so if you feel like you need to win round 1 on blue by committing Scenario, you can do that. On ladder, maybe, if you're not sure, try to avoid committing Scenario turn 1. Maybe your opponent will pass after 3 cards and you can use your 14 provision card in some other way, slightly later. Don't just slam Scenario turn 1. It's not worth it against every deck. And I have another version of it. Yeah, this is the version with the Great Oak. Well, you do swarm your rows, so Great Oak as a finisher, as a control option, seems like a nice fit. So this is the recap of meta. Also thanks to Marimba Guy from Reddit. I'll drop a link to his post with like the card count. So the summary is Syndicate was brought by 16 players out of 16, Square was brought by 14 players out of 16, Skellige by 13, Nilfgaard by 11 players, and Ark was present in 9 lineups and Monsters only in 1, so maybe not the month for Monsters. That would be it from me though. The deck list gonna be in the video description. Like, subscribe. Thanks everyone for support. We recently hit 1000 subscribers on YouTube and 2000 subscribers on Twitch. So a celebratory Shiro video will be out in the coming week, hopefully. Gonna collect all the Shiros we got throughout 2.5 years of me streaming. So thanks and cheers for watching. Bye bye.